Heyo, it's me, Harper Savage, and it's time for another full moon. Here is the sketch of the full moon. It is the worm moon. So I understand if maybe you don't like creepy crawlies, but if you don't, please help a smaller channel out by pointing my video in the directions of your friends that like Dune or, you know, creepy crawlies. So I gotta go ahead and transfer this onto my iPad. Okay. I'm gonna get the second view set up so you guys can see me from all angles. And then we can get started. Here we go. I went ahead and actually made sure that this moon lined up before I started sketching it, so I just redid that before you guys saw anything. But now it's time to get into it to sketch. Sketch. Alright, so let's talk about this worm moon. In 2024, this year, it is on March 25th. It was thought to originally be named after earthworms that kind of emerge as the ground gets warmer and, you know, the change from winter to spring. And it attracts, you know, the birds, the robins, the bees, all that. Maybe not the bees. But upon further research, it was actually named after a different kind of worm called beetle larvae. So, not really a worm, but not a worm. I don't know much about beetles or larvae, but yeah. Not actually an earthworm is what I'm getting at here. They begin to emerge from like thawing bark and other like winter hidey hole places around this time because everything is getting warm. So it's a similar concept, but not the same worm. And I actually did my sketch and everything before doing a full-blown research into this. By full-blown, I mean I read like a couple articles and gathered little to no information. Let's be real. My design actually features an earthworm, maybe two, that you can't see like the head to or something, because this worm is really long if it's just one. And I spent quite a bit on the sketch this time. I don't know why, because I basically didn't change anything about it. Maybe just like slight angles here and there. I feel like overall I did spend a lot of time on this in general though. I had a hard time just making it look like it matched everything else. Like the other moon phases I've done so far. And the other sketches I've done, I'm like already halfway done the sketches for all the full moons and with their names and meanings. It's just doing it digitally. That's, you know, the hold up here. I tried hard to just make it look consistent with the other moons, is what I'm getting at here. So I thought it would be cool to have like the worm going like through the moon, kind of like how we depict worms and apples all the time. And I also thought it was perfect timing because, you know, Dune and everything. But I tried to not make my worm not look too lumpy because it might give off like a caterpillar look if I did that. So I tried to like make the segments look individual while not being too dramatically separate, if that makes any sense. I actually did have a lot of fun doing this one despite it being not like the cutest thing that I've drawn. I don't know, it's just something about Wigglies that I like for some reason. Like, I really like caterpillars too. And snails and slugs. It's weird, I know. It's okay. And honestly, it's not the prettiest thing to look up on Google when you're like, what does a worm's head look like up close so I can drill in the mouth? I don't even know what that is that I drew on the front of it. I think it was a little bit Dune inspired, not gonna lie. And my favorite part was like doing the little detail wrinklies or texture on the worm. I don't really know what to call them, because it just really made it look more interesting in my opinion. And then I even went ahead and made like extra holes in the moon just to make it look like the worm has been at it for a while and it's not just sticking out of holes and there's like extra ones. I just wanted to smooth out the grass at the bottom there. I wasn't really sure what to do where the grass like met the bottom of the moon, if I should have made it look 3D or not, but I ended up just like making it smooth so the moon kind of kept its round shape. And then I went ahead and made the holes kind of look a bit more like protruding in some areas. And now here I kind of start struggling with the color of the moon, because I wasn't really sure what to do with it, because I've already done like purple and blue, and that was my first initial like go-to for this because of the color I make the worm, which we'll see later. But I fuss around with the moon and its color for a bit, and I finally decide on like gray and like a layer of pink in the very, very back bottom layer. And then I do some details in the grass to make it kind of match up with the worm, because it felt weird to not have like barely any detail in the grass after I put all that effort into the worm. Now I finally go in and start coloring it in this worm. It doesn't stay that ugly color, I promise. It's the base color though. So you'll see it kind of come through a little bit after I do this effect, I guess. I'm not really sure what the effect is called. But first I change all the line art color so it's not pitch black. And by effect, I mean just airbrushing. I know, I'm a filthy airbrusher, okay? Leave me alone. But I go with like a really like maroon, deep purple color and like an orangey color, because I wanted it to look like the colors of worms, but not super realistic at the same time. I wanted to make it look more fun and less icky, but I don't think I quite got there, but you know, I tried my best. Now I kind of like experiment with the grass, because I was envisioning it having kind of like a texture on it for some reason. So I'm trying with one of my like color pencil brushes at first, and then I find another brush that does a similar effect but slightly different in a minute here. And it just gave me the look that I wanted a little bit better without all that work that I did the first time. But first I have to experiment with other weird brushes. There we go. This is the one that I found that I kind of liked. And again, it was basically a similar effect to me doing individual lines for the pencil, but I liked it looking mixed better than it looking like highlights and like shadows. And then I bumped down the opacity just because it was just too bright compared to the worm. And here I go again, trying to mess with the color of the moon. My brain was just not working and figuring out how to do that for some reason during this session. Oh, now I'm adding a little bit of pink over that orange color. Just to cool it off a little bit. Or warm it up? I don't know. And I thought the holes would look better if they actually looked like holes and not just circles on the moon, because I didn't actually do like a crater texture on any of the other moons. And then I just do all the fun shading parts. I don't do anything too crazy when it comes to shading. It's basically cell shading. I think the trickiest part about shading on the moons is it's kind of a light source, sort of, kind of. It's like reflecting the sun or something like that. But like, where do you put shadows on the moon? What's up and down? You know? It's just like a weird thing to think about. One coloring in the moon, right? And then I changed like my shading color just to match what I usually do for shading colors. I usually do like purple colors for shading. I just think it looks better. And now we do all the intense detail shading on the worm, which again, my favorite part. I know it's somebody else's least favorite. Just shading in general. But again, I had to like really process how I was gonna shade this, because I struggle with this every time, but this time it was just like more of a struggle with where do you shade when it comes to the moon. So, you know, I kind of just make up my own fake light source, and it's like not logical at all, really. It's just where I felt like shading. Now it is time to highlight it, which really makes this look like a worm in my opinion, after it's all said and done. Because worms are very shiny when you see them. So, does anybody here have an irrational fear of worms or any other bugs that are harmless? I know, like, worms kind of freak me out in the way that, like, it's a texture thing. Like, I don't like how they feel. Just like slugs and snails. They're awesome. Don't let me touch one. Like, I really don't want to touch one. It's kind of just a sensory thing for me. Especially because I used to work on my grandfather's farm, and when it would rain, the field would get so muddy, and you would just, like, step in the mud. And, you know, you'd have worms all in your shoes between your toes. It's great. Also frogs. Frogs were a big one there. They would just be hiding in the puddles, and you never know when you might accidentally step on one. And that is gross and freaks me out every time I think about it. So we're gonna not talk about that anymore. I did the little stars. I didn't forget them. I didn't almost forget them either this time. I'm kind of proud of myself for that. But I do play around with what color they are for a few minutes because I didn't want them to be yellow because there was really not that much yellow here. It was like yellow-green was the closest, and I believe that's the color I end up landing on. And I didn't forget to like put anything behind the moon like I did with the other ones. I just chose not to because of how much the worm is actually protruding from it, so it was a executive decision to not do that this time. Alright, I think that is it. I feel like this was just a little bit hard because of the colors not being so pretty, so I tried my best to make it like match all my other moons so far with being colorful and bright. Also trying to stay true to what it was for. If you do like this design, go ahead and click on my link tree and tap on the merch or journals and planners links on there to find this on one of your favorite items. That's gonna be it for me. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to do all the cool YouTubey things of comment, liking, subscribing, and turning on that notification bell. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!